There's a relatively new report out from the CDC, which has some conservatives up in arms. I've seen recently a tweet from Candace Owens about it, and then I went onto YouTube and I found a conservative demagogue that I am unfortunately familiar with, Officer Tatum, who is also making a video about this. Essentially, the report found that 94% of COVID deaths had other factors that also contributed to their deaths, which is not surprising to hear. We've always heard about COVID that if you have other conditions, you are more likely to have a severe case of COVID and you're more likely to die from it. However, it seems as if many conservatives are taking this as, well, that means only, 10,000 people have actually died from COVID. Which is not true. Just because there is another factor that increases the severity of the COVID and also causes you to die, that does not mean you were going to die from that when you did, if it weren't for the COVID. It's still a COVID death. So a lot of them are trying to sort of use this as a way to support their bullshit narrative that the CDC has been lying about the COVID deaths, which we've heard several times recently from Paul and Morgan, I believe, did it. Greg Locke did it. Tucker Carlson does it. And he's going to do it here as well. The CDC lied to you.
I told you the CDC was full of crap. This video is brought to you by TatumReport.com. TatumReport.com. Get the link in the description section. Make sure you go over there and subscribe just in case they want to kick your boy off the social media platforms.
God, wouldn't that be nice?
We already see what they did with Facebook, and we don't want that to happen.
Oh,
like,
Facebook
subscribe to
already
this
got rid of
channel.
them.
Hit the bell so you get notifications.
We can only hope that YouTube will follow
Anytime I go
suit.
live, I'll make a video. Make sure you still subscribe to my channel. Hit the join button so you join the Tatum Squad. Like this video, comment on this video, share this video. Let's get it.
I mean, I don't like it, but I am commenting on it and sharing it, so kind of helping out, I guess.
And it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I told you. And most of us that have common sense understands that something smelled fishy from the very beginning.
No, you see, here's the problem, is that you felt like something had to be wrong because you were not willing to accept the fact that your president, that you're so enthralled with, could not be handling this well, and that America could be handling this very poorly. You had to have in your mind the idea that America is handling this the best way that they possibly could be, and that it is a liberal narrative trying to usurp the effectiveness of your president to say that people are dying from this, regardless of the fact that, again, over, what is it now? Let's find out. COVID deaths. Let's see where we're at. Oh. Where are we at right now? We are at, well, this is for just where I am at. Let's see, COVID deaths, USA. 183,000. 183,000. But don't worry, they're all lies. Only maybe 10,000 people have died from COVID in our country. The other, 173,000 people, they were gonna die probably this year anyway, so it's not that big a deal. It's not like COVID had any sort of real impact on their deaths.
I'm talking about fish. Smell fishy. There is no way in the world that we are prioritizing a virus that's exactly the same, just about, maybe some nuances and differences, as the flu.
COVID-19 is not the same as the flu. Shocking, I know. However, here's some very important differences. The most important, we have a vaccine for the flu, which is why the flu doesn't kill so many people every year. It still kills a lot of people, but we have a vaccine that lets us get on top of it and keep a lot of people from dying, which we do not have for COVID-19. In addition to that, the way that it spreads, it has a slightly less, or it's slightly more infectious, I believe, than the flu. Let's see, COVID-19 compared to flu. Let's see exactly what's going on here. From the World Health Organization. How are they similar? They are similar presentation. They both cause respiratory disease. They're both transmitted by contact. Yeah, we all knew that. Speed of transmission is a difference. Influenza has a shorter median incubation time. Yeah, that's something we already knew. Takes 5 to 6 days for COVID to actually present symptoms in most cases, whereas it takes only about 3 days for the flu. So it can spread faster than COVID-19. Let's see. Okay, yeah, they can both be sort of spread before symptoms show up. Reproductive number, the number of secondary infections generated, is understood to be 2 to 2.5, which is higher than influenza. So at this point, it's a matter of the flu can spread faster, but on average, COVID is going to spread to more people from each individual case than the flu is. Probably in part because we don't have a vaccine for it, so people are not immunized against it. And then it talks about the way that children are more vulnerable to the flu than they are to COVID. Let's see. Mortality rate for COVID-19 appears higher than for influenza, especially seasonal influenza. While the true mortality of COVID-19 will take some time to fully understand, which is understandable, the data we have so far indicates that the crude mortality ratio is between 3 to 4%. The infection mortality rate will be lower. For seasonal influenza, mortality is usually well below 0.1%. Mortality is in large extent determined to access to and quality of healthcare. Yeah, we don't have a vaccine. We don't have any real way to treat COVID-19 effectively because we don't know what we're doing with it yet. So more people are going to die when they get COVID-19 than the flu, which is why this is the current threat that we are trying to focus on rather than the flu, which we are used to, which still kills a lot of people, but we have ways to actually fight against it, which we don't have for COVID.
I told you guys, the flu, 80,000 people died from the flu in 2018, I believe. Is it 60 or 80? I got to go back.
187,000 was it? 187,000 from COVID so far in 2020.
Verify my numbers. I believe it was 80.
Just in America.
Almost 1 million people were hospitalized in 2018 due to the flu.
Way more for COVID this year.
The flu affects children at a much higher rate than COVID ever could think of.
Okay. I'm like, yeah, that's true, but that doesn't really have any bearing on whether we need to be worried about it.
But instead, we shut our whole country down and got people walking around with masks on. The CDC said we weren't supposed to wear it at first. Now they want you to wear it.
At first, the CDC said that we shouldn't be wearing masks because they were worried that they weren't going to be able to have enough PPE masks, which are the masks that they need for actual people working in the hospitals to keep them safe. They were afraid that people were going to buy all of those up and they were going to have a supply shortage to get those masks to the people who actually need them. So they decided that the best course of action would be to not have people going and buying up masks that might be needed by the hospitals, because that would end up leading to more deaths. So they were trying to have people just chill in their house, but, people just couldn't abide by that. So now, yeah, we do need to be wearing masks.
It makes no sense.
It does.
And let me tell you this. They even shut down a corner store in 2018 when the flu was running rampant. The flu comes back every season, and they claim to have a vaccination for it.
They claim to have a... Does this guy not believe that the flu vaccine works? What the fuck? Are you an anti-vaxxer? Please, for the love of God, don't be an anti-vaxxer.
And it still kills 80,000, 20,000, 60,000 people every season.
Yeah, I mean, you gave a pretty large range there, 80,000, 20,000, 60,000 people. But regardless, still less people than have died already in the United States from COVID this year. So I'm not quite sure where your disconnect is as far as it comes to why we are prioritizing COVID.
And they want you to believe that COVID is way more dangerous.
The numbers don't lie, my guy.
They originally said it's going to be millions of people to lose their life. That did not happen.
Yeah, because we managed to slow it down somewhat, still not as much as we should have. If we had actually done what we needed to do and kept the country closed down and actually had some sort of government response to facilitate that, then we probably wouldn't be dealing with it now. But if we hadn't have done anything, which looked like we weren't going to for quite some time, and we wouldn't have if it hadn't have been for a lot of the governors doing things because Trump wasn't willing to do anything, then yeah, there would have been probably over 1 million people dead. And who knows, at this point, there still could be. It may be over a much longer period of time, but there still could be 1 million people dead at some point.
Now explain to me this. If you told us not to wear a mask, the masks are supposed to be so effective today, where's the accountability?
Again, they had a good reason for telling you not to wear a mask. Granted, it's probably not a great thing that they said that instead of, hey, let's let the people who really need the masks have them. But then again, there are people who are fucking stupid. People like, I assume if you were to believe in this, you would probably be one of them, who don't give a shit about other people and only care about yourself. So if they told you masks are going to keep you safe, people like you, people who don't care about other people, would have said, oh, well, I don't care about the people who actually need the masks. I don't want to stay in my house, which would be the easier way to stay safe. I'm going to go buy up all the masks so that other people can't have them. There are people like that. I'm sure you know that there are people like that. And that's why they had to do that. It sucks that that's what they had to do, because now people like you turn that around and say, oh, well, they said masks didn't work in the beginning, but now they're saying they're so important. But it's because of people who are too fucking stupid to care about anybody else and would have bought them up and caused a problem with supply for the people who actually need them, which are the people in the hospitals.
Where is the accountability? But before I get too deep into this, I want y'all to see what the CDC said about their own diagnoses, or at least their own statistical data about how many people were actually affected and actually died from COVID-19. Not comorbidities, not people that had other stuff going on that they were going to die from anyway, and they just so happen to have COVID as well.
Yeah, no, that you can't just write these off as not being COVID deaths. The reason they're classified as COVID deaths, it's not like they're not also classified as other things, but the reason they're classified as COVID deaths is because the fact that they got COVID led to the fact that they died much faster. Like, yeah, you may have died from whatever comorbidity you had in 10 years, but instead you died this year because you got COVID. That's a COVID death. It doesn't matter if you were eventually going to die from something, if the more immediate cause of your death was COVID-19. It's fucking nonsensical.
Roll with me to TatumReport.com so we can watch this. TatumReport.com, if y'all don't know, it's a brand new website.
Fuck off.
It's not really shocking to me.
Okay.
Breaking, shocking news. It's not really shocking to me because I knew this was going on. The CDC reports show COVID's death only 6% of what has been reported. Have we been scammed?
No, you haven't been scammed. This is just the number of people who have only died from COVID-19, which, I mean, even if you were to look at the number of people who only died from the flu, it would be much lower than the number of people who died from the flu with comorbidities. Like, comorbidities add to the chance that you're going to die from an infectious disease. That's what they do. Like, this is, oh my God, why would you think anything different? Obviously, a lot of the people with COVID who have died had other factors that led to their death. It wasn't just COVID, but COVID was the immediate thing that caused them to die. So it's a COVID death. It's very simple.
Let's go to the article right here. The CDC
God.
has legitimized almost what.
Hold up. Okay, so he, on his own website, read the headline, "Breaking Shock, CDC Reports Show COVID Deaths Only 6% of what has been reported. Have we all been scammed?" And then
What has been reported.
he says, let's go to the
haven't
article.
been scammed. Let's go to the article.
And it's a different website. So he made up the headline that he's going to try and tie to this thing here. The actual headline, CDC, just 6% of COVID deaths occurred without comorbidities, which, yeah, is a perfectly reasonable headline, unlike "Breaking Shock, CDC report shows COVID deaths only 6% of what has been reported. Have we all been scammed?" Oh my god, this is so fucking dishonest. Are you serious right now? That's what we're doing? Oh my god.
Right here. The CDC has legitimized almost what they would consider a conspiracy theory.
No, the conspiracy theory is this fucking shit. The fact that you're saying because only 6% of people who died of COVID didn't have other sort of comorbidities means that the entire number that they've given for the number of people who have died of COVID is complete bullshit, and that only less than 10,000 people have died from it when it's over 180,000. That's fucking conspiracy. This is just basic what you would expect from this disease.
Of what has been going on and what people have been saying. And this is according to the CDC.
For 6% of the deaths, COVID-19 was the only cause mentioned. For deaths with conditions or causes in addition to COVID-19, on average, there were 2.6 additional conditions or causes per death. Let's see. Oh god, this article is also just...
Or at least the documented evidence.
We'll have to look at the actual
is that
CDC
6%
thing, because
of the
it's
deaths,
not this.
COVID-19 was the only cause mentioned.
Yeah.
For deaths with conditions or causes in addition to COVID-19, on average, there were at least two and a half additional conditions or causes per death.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that can cause a death. Most death certificates are not yeah, they died from just this. Normally, it's a combination of things that lead to your death.
And I don't understand how people ain't getting that. You can go read the rest of the article on TatumReport.com. It's one of our major stories. You can just scroll down just like I did. But ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, again, he says you can go to TatumReport.com. The article he was actually reading out was not from Tatum.com. It was just the headline that he gave you on his website, and then he went to another article.
Gentlemen, this is not an accident. How is only...
Yeah, this is... What do you mean this is not an accident? This is just data. This means nothing. This is literally, not... the majority of people who died from COVID also had other shit going on. Most people, especially the people who are more likely to die from COVID, which is older people, have a whole lot more comorbidities baked into just being older. It's so fucking simple. How do you people not get this shit?
6% of the people who have lost their lives, which is roughly 10,000 people.
Okay.
10,000 people.
Uh-huh.
COVID alone.
Yeah, that's probably most of the young people who have died from it. Because if you're younger, you don't have as much time to develop comorbidities in your life, so you're probably going to be relatively healthy. So you're probably going to, if you're going to get COVID and die, it's probably just going to be a really severe case of COVID. It's not going to be super common for that to happen, but it does happen. The fact, oh my god, the fact that people are dying from other things in addition to COVID does not mean that they did not die from COVID. It's so fucking
this
simple.
This virus is not as deadly as people are making it out to be. I said this from the very beginning, that we should have focused on people with comorbidities, focused on people with pre-existing underlying issues, focused on people who were the top echelon of people who could be affected by not only COVID, but other diseases. We should have focused on them. We should have been able...
Why the fuck do you think we're trying to make people wear masks? It's because even if you are not at risk, you are protecting the people who are. That's the entire point. It's literally the exact same thing as people getting vaccines, how people should have to get vaccines, because there are some people who can't. So you are protecting the people who can't get vaccines by getting the vaccines. Like, it's the exact same fucking thing. We are looking out for the people with comorbidities. That's the entire fucking point.
Able to allow them to go home and stay home and give them some assistance if needed. But for everybody else,
because if we just have the people with comorbidities stay home, a lot of those people live with people who do not have comorbidities, and a lot of those people would not be able to survive if it was just them who was, like, even if we kept all of those people home, everyone else would be going around doing their own shit. The virus would keep spreading to those people. They probably wouldn't die, but a lot of them would be bringing that shit back home to their family who may have comorbidities. And even then, it would take forever because not everyone is actually doing what they need to do. So the virus would just keep going and they would be stuck in their house forever. That's the problem. You can't just have those people do it because they're not the majority of the population. They're just the majority who are affected. So by just quarantining them off, you're not actually solving the problem.
like you, like me, all the kids, we should be able to go out and live our lives, develop herd immunity. These are things that are no-brainers, ladies and gentlemen.
Still a lot of people your age dying from COVID, even without comorbidities. 10,000 people have still died.
And then somebody that's 200, 300 pounds overweight is 25 years old, and they go, look, a 25-year-old passed away. And 25 ain't got nothing to do with it if you're obese, if you have underlying pre-existing conditions, what they call them comorbidities.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that can be comorbidities. Your point? They still died from COVID. Just because they were 200 to 300 pounds overweight does not mean they were going to die this year anyway.
I'm mad, man.
Yeah, me too.
I'm mad. People need to go to prison over this stuff.
What the fuck do you mean people need to go to prison over this stuff? Are you saying the people at the CDC need to go to prison for releasing just basic fucking data that you have decided is some sort of fucking conspiracy? What is this shit, honestly? Jesus Christ.
People need to go to prison over these things. God. Not just get fired, not go to prison. You can't mess up by 90+%.
They didn't mess up. This is just how it works.
In any other aspect of business.
Your inability to understand this data does not mean that it is conspiracy. You're just fucking stupid.
Life, you will get fired. You will be held accountable. The CDC has been messing up all the way from the beginning to now. Everybody know you shouldn't be wearing masks everywhere. You should not be wearing masks everywhere.
Yes, you should.
If you're afraid of getting sick, stay at home.
It's not about you being afraid of getting sick. It's about protecting other people. My God, why do none of them understand this? How do none of them understand what the mask is actually for? It blows my mind.
We've seen it in South Dakota. We've seen it in other places where they're not going crazy. Now, let me tell you.
Gee, South Dakota, where things are not going crazy. What's the fucking population density of South Dakota? .3 people per square mile. 52nd out of 56. I wonder why large population centers are having a harder time with this. Maybe we should all just be like South Dakota. That would protect us. Perfect. Let's all just space out so there's only 11 people per square mile. That's it. You know what? That's so much easier than staying home when you don't need to go out and wearing a mask when you do. You're right. That's so much easier. Let's do that. Good idea. Fucking moron. Jesus Christ.
I'll tell you this, and then I'm going to move on. This is political, ladies and gentlemen.
You're right. The only reason somebody would be this invested in trying to, like, reject the reality of this virus is if you were trying so desperately to protect your president. That is the only good reason anybody would have for denying this shit, and that's why you all do it. Because you cannot accept the fact that your president is doing a shitty job at this.
The most chaos and confusion that can be conjured up, the more they believe that people are not going to vote for President Trump. It makes it look like our country is out of control.
It is.
It makes it look he don't know what he's doing.
He doesn't.
They're using that as political jargon to say, look at how he handled COVID-19.
Yeah, because he handled it badly. Would we rather he handled it well and not that many people died? Yeah, absolutely. Maybe it means he has a better chance of, like, getting a second term, but okay. A whole lot less people would have died if he had done his shit correctly, but he didn't. And that's one of the reasons he needs to be gotten out of office. Because he's fucking incompetent. Jesus.
Well, if you ask me, 10,000 people died from COVID-19 in the United States of America. That's a doggone good job.
You're right. If you just like select out only 6% of the deaths, we've solved it. He did well. Guys, he did it. He solved COVID-19. If you just decide that only 6% of the deaths count, holy shit, we're doing great. Only 10,000 people? Wow. Amazing.
What do you got to say to that? Let's see what happened in other countries. We have more testing. We have more availability to all kind of resources, trillions of dollars of spending.
And yet we still have more people dying. More people dying per capita. So what the fuck is the point of having all of this, like, availability of resources if we are not using them properly, which we're not?
That we've given people so that they can stay at home. We've done everything that we can do.
We sent out one $1,200 check that apparently is supposed to be enough for the people to have stayed home and not had to go out and put themselves in danger for the past, oh God, when was that? April? So for the past 4-5 months? Yeah, we've done all we could do. We've done everything we could possibly do.
In the CDC, World Health Organization, I say World Health Organization, it's that Texan coming out of me. They lied. All these people are lying, being disingenuous.
Yes, you are lying and being disingenuous.
How is the president supposed to have fundamental information that he can lead the country with when the big organizations that y'all are supposed to be supporting are lying to you?
They're not lying, you just don't understand what the data means.
I don't know if they're lying intentionally. I think it's intentional.
Yeah, no, I think it's intentional that you are misinterpreting this data, because there's no fucking way that you are this goddamn stupid that you don't see what this actually means, which is that this is data that everyone should have just understood is normal to come out of this sort of thing. We all knew that specific people are more at risk, specifically people who are older, who are more likely to have comorbidities. Yeah, these people are more at risk, so the majority of people who are going to die are going to be those people. No shit. You cannot possibly be this stupid, which means you are making this up, trying to make it seem as if this is possible, so that you can convince other people to not have to think about it, so that you can convince people that this conspiracy that you've cooked up, or that other people have cooked up that you're then piggybacking off of, has any legitimacy at all, which it does not.
Regardless, they're ruining people's lives because they're not thorough. They're not taking care of business like they should.
You're right. It has nothing to do with all of the people who are so fucking stupid and so selfish that they cannot stay at home when ordered to, or wear masks when ordered to. You're right. You're so right. It's the CDC's fault for putting out data. That's what it is. You're right. Oh my God.
It's all a political coup.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to take out President Trump, and they're trying to, defame or at least detract from all the things he's accomplished. Now, I can go on about this for 3 or 4 more hours, but I want to make sure you watch the rest of my videos. Comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think about it. So people go to jail for lying about 94% of cases.
Yes. Honestly, all right, so here's the thing. Yeah, the people who are lying about 94% of cases are you. People like you and people like Candace Owens and all the other fucking conservatives online who do not give a shit about actual people and only care about pushing a narrative for political reasons, which is all these people do. Yeah, people like you who are obviously going to end up leading to more people dying by convincing people that the virus is not as dangerous as it actually is, and then convincing people that they shouldn't be wearing masks out in public, which you've said in this video, you are going to lead to more people dying. So if anybody should be facing any sort of prison sentence for that, it should be people like you, because you are leading to more people dying. Because you are so fucking stupid and so selfish that you do not care about all of that. All you care about is, like, oh my god, all you care about is protecting your president, your demagogue.
You let me know. Visit TatumReport.com. Make sure you go on and subscribe. Donate if God has put it on your heart.
Yeah, donate.
So we continue to provide 100% verified news, 100% free to you.
Holy fuck, that was stupid. Oh my god. Are you serious? That's what they have. A report from the CDC comes out saying that 94% of people had some sort of comorbidity, which anyone with a brain who has been paying attention at all should have just assumed was about the case. And now that means that the people who died, other than that 6%, died because of something else and just got attributed to COVID. Rather than they had other conditions which made their COVID case worse, which means they died from COVID, but also had these other things that exacerbated the COVID. They were not going to die this year if it weren't for the COVID that they got, which is why it's a COVID death. It still fucking counts. And by pretending that it doesn't, you are putting people at risk. And it's infuriating. Oh my god. Okay. Well, this has been a whole lot of fun. Okay. See you next time.